Good evening. This is Chakra Doctor. My name is Dr. Jacqueline Chan, and I am delighted to be here with you this evening. A little bit of my background: I'm a holistic integrative physician, board certified, and the first class to be board certified this year. And I've been in medical practice for over 18 years. And I got my master's in intuition medicine from the Academy of Intuition Medicine in Sausalito with Francesca McCartney. And it essentially changed my life, because before I got my master's in intuition, I knew that I was intuitive. I would see somebody's face who was a patient who was trying to reach me, and I would get to work, and sure enough, they would have called. I predicted the death of 3 people in my life down to the date. That's another whole story. But intuitive things happened to me, and so I did not consider ever going to school for it because I thought I'm already intuitive. But when I went to the Academy of Intuition Medicine, it awoke for me the reality of our subtle energy anatomy, which is essentially how our auric field and our chakras exist and are affected by lifetime events, by archetypal energies, and even by past lives, whether you want to say past lives really exist or whether they are an energy that we carry within ourselves. And I started doing energy medicine on my patients in the medical clinic and getting profound results. So it just changed my life. So you're in the right place tonight if you want to learn how to raise your intuition. And you're in the right place if you're interested in learning more about the science in the Western world behind chakras and the auric field. And also if you would like a really wonderful meditation. And so tonight, we're going to be doing a half an hour of didactic with the slides. I'll be going through the history of energy medicine in the Western world, and then we'll have a 15-minute meditation, and then about 5 to 10 minutes at the end for questions. So if you know you're going to probably have some questions, then please get a pen and paper, and you can jot them down during the class, and we'll hold them for the end. And if you want to look at my website, it's www.drjacqueline.info. We're also going to be talking about a class that I will be offering. This is the first class. It's a free class. And then there's a series of 3 classes on one called The Diet Dilemma, another Breast Health, and another How to Stay Healthy Through the Holidays. Both Anodea and I are really excited to present some just fantastic, empowering medical information for you that comes from the world of integrative holistic medicine, as well as incorporating that into the chakras. And so this is I live out on Muir Beach, which is just north of San Francisco, and I love Muir Woods. And this is a quote from John Muir: "When we look at any one thing in the world, we find it is hitched to everything else." So I just want to, pause here and congratulate you. Congratulate you for being on this path of seeking wisdom, seeking embodiment, and really honoring yourself in this lifetime. Life is so precious, and it's our gift, really, to whoever granted us with this precious life. It's our gift back to tend to our bodies and our health And so, I just want to congratulate you for that. And something made you interested in this call tonight. So I just want you to also tap in with what your intention was when you decided to sign up, and how you felt called to this. And so really my desire for this call, aside from just being grateful to be able to express some of the things that I've learned, but my higher desire for all of you is that we raise our consciousness together. So during the meditation, we'll be greeting each other's spirits and feeling the energy of the collective so that we are unifying ourselves and raising our consciousness together. And I actually feel that the rest of the world will be able to feel, this instant in time when we are meditating and grounding together. So you're in the right place if you want to know what intuition is, how do you know if your energy is off, and to get more tools that allow you to have more energy, clarity, and effectiveness in the world, and to get a new lease on life. And this goes so well hand in hand with the teachings of Anodea and yoga and chakras. And we'll be learning about the history of energy medicine in the modern Western world, as well as defining intuition. I'm going to be reviewing our balanced subtle energy anatomy, the power of intention, and then we'll be going to be doing a grounding meditation. So some of you may have heard of the book Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. And Anita Moorjani was discovered actually by Wayne Dyer, and he said, you must write a book about this. And she was at one point, 80-some pounds, dying of cancer that was all over her body. Her body was riddled with it. And she was given less than 2 weeks to live, and she had a near-death experience. And her book goes into detail about this near-death experience. It's really profound, and it's similar to what Eben Alexander explains in his book, Proof of Heaven. And he was a Harvard neurosurgeon and academic. So this is a quote from her. I found that having an inside-out view means being able to fully trust my inner guidance. It's as though what I feel has an impact on my entire universe. I mean, just think about how powerful that statement is. That as if what I feel has an impact on the entire universe. In other words, because I'm at the center of my cosmic web, the whole is affected by me. So as far as I'm concerned, if I'm happy, the universe is happy. If I love myself, everyone else will love me. If I'm at peace, all of creation is peaceful. That's Anita Moorjani. Now, I will have to say, for you skeptics out there, and certainly if any one of my biological family members listen to this, they will be the skeptics. But there's tremendous truth to this statement. And when I first learned intuition medicine, I remember I learned to explore my meditation sanctuary. And we're going to go there tonight. I'm going to teach you where it is and go there. And at first it was like a dark cave. It's your sixth chakra. And I lived in a home that was wooden and dark and in the woods, and it was very comforting to me. And then with time, my meditation sanctuary changed. It changed colors, and it became like this sky blue with gold sparkles. And after several months of having a meditation sanctuary like that, I ended up moving, and I moved into a house that was had the exact color walls, that blue with the gold. It was really amazing. So when my energy shifted at the Academy of Intuition Medicine, I moved 3 times during those 2 years. I got a new car, a new computer, a new phone. It's like everything that was intimately connected to my energy had to shift and change. And so what I'm trying to say is that as your energy shifts internally, the external world actually does start responding and shifting. Quantum holography. So we each have an energetic blueprint, and it's a collection of vibrations, patterns with potentiality. And every particle of matter, every cell, organ, brain, heart, bacteria, fungus, parasite also has an energetic frequency signature. And you cannot change your potentiality. You can only become it. So the changes in your quantum holography induce changes in you, and these changes in you instantaneously change your quantum holography. So what is energy medicine? Well, let's start off with what it's not. It's not traditional shamanism. In shamanism, you're taken to an underworld, a middle world, an overworld. You meet animal spirits. We're not doing that in energy medicine. It's also not channeling. There's not, sometimes people talk about Metatron or Archangel Michael or the Violet Flame, and they're channeling something. And this is not channeling, and it's also not faith healing. So those are things that energy medicine is not. Okay, so what is it? What are we going to be talking about tonight? Well, most of what I'm presenting is from the work of Francesca McCartney, who is the founder of the Academy of Intuition Medicine in Sausalito, and also Energy Medicine University in Berkeley, California. And it's based on our auric field and chakras and our known anatomy in this area. So the earliest recorded use of energy medicine was back in 2750 BC, which was the exposure of our bodies to electric eels for healing. And then we were using stones like bloodstone and red iron and ochre used for ceremonial purposes that had some kind of magnetic quality to them. Of course, in the biblical times, there was the laying on of hands. And in 1779, Franz Mesmer published the memoir of the discovery of animal magnetism. And that's when we kind of were coming into this era of a divide in science between vitalists and mechanists. Okay, and so the mechanists held the belief that life obeys the law of chemistry and physics, whereas the vitalists held the belief that life can never really be explained by normal physics and chemistry, and instead there's some kind of mysterious life force that distinguishes living from non-living matter. And early electrotherapy was thought to be this other life force for some of the vitalists. And then we had some actual reports of the aura. And these were reports in 1873. Edwin Babbitt, who published The Principles of Light and Color, he secluded himself in a darkened room for several weeks and discovered later that you could actually see energy fields around human bodies. And then 1 century later, Babbitt's observations of neural currents around the head were discovered to be accurate to the anatomy of the interhemispheric fibers of the brain and the corpus callosum, which is the part of the brain that allows our right side and our left side of our brain to communicate. 20th century electrobiology. This is Harold Saxton Burr. He was a full professor at the Yale School of Medicine, not an unheard of school. In 1932 to 1956, he published 93 papers on what he called the blueprint of life. And he was really convinced that all living things, from mice to humans and seed to trees, are formed and controlled by fields that can be measured with standard detectors. And these fields reflect physical and mental conditions. And much of this research and history is included in a book by James Oshman called Energy Medicine. And for those of you who are coming to the call late, my website is www.drjacqueline.com. So this is a quote from James Oshman. In a few decades, scientists went from the conviction that there is no such thing as energy fields in and around the human body to an absolute certainty that they exist. So, you know, now we're coming to the realization that we are no longer just, you know, made up of bones, muscles, organs, and blood, which is what young doctors were learning in medical school, what we were studying in Gray's Anatomy. But we were learning that we're also electromagnetic. And, you know, we know this because you can get an EEG of the brain, which is a recorded output of the brain's electromagnetics, and an EKG of the heart. If you went to the emergency room with chest pain, God forbid, you know, they're going to put leads on your heart and get an electromagnetic readout of your body. So let's talk about that a little bit. So what is this biomagnetic field in our body? Well, we actually have discovered through research done at HeartMath that the biomagnetic field of the heart extends indefinitely into space. Okay? So the biomagnetic field of the brain extends only 15 feet. But the heart, they actually cannot find the end of the biomagnetic field of the heart. This is a profound, really profound discovery, because up until this point in time, in medicine and in anatomy and the understanding of the human body, we've given the brain and the mind kind of the king's throne. And, you know, we even have things like mindfulness, meditation, but this is actual research showing the powerful impact of the heart. And this is how, you know, Hollywood depicts this in the movies where a child gets injured and the mother who's in another country or who's thousands of miles away senses that something is wrong. How is she sensing that? She's sensing that with her heart field. It's also been research in animals and plants. Cleve Baxter wrote a book called Primary Perception, and he actually worked for the CIA for a while. He was a hypnotherapist, but he discovered, you know, dogs will actually know that their owner is coming home 2 miles before their owner is near the front door, and it's not because they're hearing the car coming. They actually can feel it electromagnetically. Now, you're going to look at your dog differently, you know, and plants can actually sense when bacteria are being killed by boiling water placed in a sink beside them. They can actually sense that. They've put leads on these and they can sense things. So how does this affect us? Well, there are such things as low electrical fields that happen when the weather changes. And some of you may have had a headache when there's a thunderstorm coming or a shift in the weather pattern, or you may have known someone who gets migraines. And so they have documented that when there's low frequency electricity, that people get headaches, tightness in the chest, sweating in their palms, and fatigue. So now I'm talking to you about these silent pulses, these electromagnetic fields that we don't necessarily see. They're very subtle, but they're very powerful. And so these oscillations don't just, you know, they're not just confined to the brain or the heart, but they actually are propagated and moved through the circulation system along the peripheral nerves and along the perineural system, which is the area just around the nerves. So these oscillations of the heart's electrical activity go through our entire body, our connective tissue, living matrix, and vascular system. And this is what you're feeling when you do yoga. This is what you're feeling when you're breathing and you're doing a downward-facing dog or you know, a cobra pose, and you feel, maybe you even feel something emotional as your heart chakra opens. But this is actually what's possible. So let's talk about grounding a little bit. You know, grounding. I remember mentioning to Anodea that I wanted to, you know, do an entire hour on grounding, and she said, oh, that's too basic. Everybody knows how to ground. It actually took me 2 years of daily practice I could really ground. So for those of you who think that's very basic, you know, take off your expert's cap, be a little open-minded. Let's push ourselves a little bit more to see how we can massively transform our grounding and just how important grounding is. So what am I talking about here? Well, there was an experiment that Robert Beck did in the 1970s and 80s where he took a number of different healers. So he took a shamanic healer, a Christian faith healer, a Reiki therapist. So he used several different healers. I think there were at least 5 different healers. And he put EEG leads on their skulls to measure what is happening when they're doing their healing. And so they were all getting good results, but they were using different methods of healing. And what he found is that one thing all of them had in common is that when they were doing their healing work, they were resonating at a certain frequency. And that frequency was 7.8 to 8 cycles per second. Well, what's important about that number? Well, we also know that the earth, the ground, vibrates at something called Scheuermann's resonance frequency, which is 7 to 10 hertz. It's the same as Mother Nature. And this is why we go into nature to refuel. You know, we go into the woods, we want to go to the beach, we want to go for a hike, we want to be in the mountains. Why? Because we're starting to resonate with that frequency. And you know what? That frequency is actually affected by the sun and the moon and the stars. And so they've even mapped solar flares and how there have been outbursts of violence on the planet, wars and civil wars and strikes and whatnot, when there are certain solar flares. And that information is in a book called The Bond by Lynn McTaggart, which many of you probably heard of. So grounding is a profoundly important human principle. Now, what does that frequency feel like? I'm actually very well adept at knowing what that frequency feels like as a craniosacral practitioner. That's one of the things I do. So if any of you have ever received craniosacral osteopathic manipulation or craniosacral manipulation, which is where someone puts their hand on your skull and on your sacrum, you feel a very slow pulse. And 7.8 to 8 hertz is basically 7 to 8 cycles per second. It's a very slow motion. And we feel it in our bones because our paired bones, being our thighs, like your femur, your tibia, your fibula, your clavicles, your humerus or upper arm, and your forearm, all those bones start rotating externally and rotating internally with your breath, and at about 7 to 8 times a minute. And it's very subtle. It's like moves about 1/100th of a millimeter, but it can also be described as kind of like a slow expansion and contraction. And it's profoundly healthy for the body to feel this. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the science, modern science. Dr. William Tiller, who was right here at Stanford, taught that subtle energy is manifested by people and can increase electron size and number. What? So he's basically saying that we can, human beings, we can actually increase the electron size and the number of electrons through the subtle energy through our intention. So this is really amazing. So basically the tools that we use for energy medicine are intention and focus, okay? And so the intention manifests our blueprint and the focus gives you the power. Our consciousness creates this geometric curvatures of space, changing spin and flow of information. Now here, if you are beside the computer, you can see a slide of the aura with the layers and chakras. I really love this image because that's pretty much what it looks like. There's layers around your auric field that correlate with each chakra. And, you know, you're probably much more intimately familiar with this if you've read any of Anodea's books, taken her classes. But, you know, for those of you who don't know, so we're all on the same page, there's the root chakra, which represents our sexual nature, also our grounding, present time, finances, security, and safety. There's our second chakra, which is orange, and that's our creative energy. Our third chakra, which is depicted as yellow, and that's our digestive system. It's also self-empowerment. Heart, which is green, that's love. Our immune system, breathing, and our throat is communication. It's also where the thyroid is. And our third eye, which is our pituitary, hypothalamus. These are the master glands of the endocrine system. And our crown chakra. So the etheric body, Theosophists, you know, they kind of described it as physical yet invisible. And this is our auric field. So it's the vehicle through which flows the streams of vitality which keep the body alive. And our physical body is in perpetual change, and it needs that vitality in addition to nutrition in order to thrive. So why work with subtle energy? Well, subtle energies and structures create our physical reality. Have you ever noticed somebody and been, you know, who has like a magnetic quality, or you're just drawn to them? Oftentimes it's because their auric field and their chakras are really well balanced, and their auric field is clear. And you don't necessarily see that or know that, but you're just drawn to somebody. Or are you ever turned off by someone? You know, like you're just kind of like, I don't trust that person, or they make me feel uncomfortable, or they seem really stressed. Same thing. Oftentimes it's their auric field. So by examining fields, channels, and bodies of the subtle anatomy, you can potentially diagnose problems before they even occur. So how do you know if your subtle energy is balanced? Well, if you're in harmony, you kind of feel like, I know who I am. You may have a palpable sense of consciousness, also kind of witnessing yourself. You'll be calm, focused, assertive, lucid, strong. You may have a heightened creativity. I remember when in class we learned how to run our Kundalini, and I had to stop doing it because I was like having to go running and do push-ups, and I had so much energy. I was sleeping 5 hours a night. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So it definitely heightens your energy and your creativity. It gives you lightness and joy, helps you be present in your body. It gives you a lot of energy to handle life's difficult challenges. It also helps you to be productive, calm, and confident, and experiencing a state of grace. And one of the most powerful sessions I ever gave is when my stepsister called me on Christmas Day and said, my mother was just killed. And I had 20 minutes to talk to her, and I said, can I do 10 minutes of energy medicine on you? I said, I know you've never received this before. I was in California, she was in Indiana, and she said, okay, and we grounded, and I looked at her auric field, long distance, and I saw that it was completely shredded in the middle. There's like this huge black hole, and which is to be expected with that kind of a shock. And all I could do in a brief amount of time I had with the intensity of the information was ask for grace. And I just said, Grace, please come in. Please come in to my sister. And Grace came in as a light, as a quality into her whole auric field. And that care was knotted with golden thread. And then I saw a similar thing happen to her daughter's spirit. And the next at least month of her life was so magical in terms of her connection with her mother's spirit, her clarity of what her purpose was in life, her energy level. She was able to graduate from graduate school, raise her child. It was really, really, really tremendous. And I feel like that moment when we pulled in the state of grace was profound. So really, you know, looking and addressing and being with our subtle energy anatomy, because our chakras are the link from our spiritual, emotional, psychic, and physical body. They link us in, and it gives us access to that other place. There's probably 1,000 stories I could tell, and in fact, I'm writing a book with some of my patients' stories because they're really profound, and I can't keep track of them all. But anyways, that's one of them. So I'll give you one other story. This is about my intuition. So I had 3 people in my life die in 6 months. My boyfriend was killed, my best friend died of cancer, and my favorite nurse also died. And when 3 people, you know, they say tragedies happen in 3, kind of creates like a dark night of the soul, or, you know, you really start assessing, and I'm sure almost everybody on the call can think of something that's happened in their life that was really intense or really hard, and you feel like that's hard enough, and then boom, another thing happens, and then boom, another thing happens, and you just think, oh my God, I can't handle this. Those 3 things were so transformative, and what happened is I realized that, you know, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. You know, and my life isn't just going to sort itself out magically, but it's a precious gift. Every single day I have of my life is a precious gift. And I started tending to my inner voice, and I realized that I was leading kind of a mediocre life. I was living in Ohio at the time. I wasn't really inspired by where I was living. I loved my community and my friends, but things were just kind of comfortable. It was like comfortable and okay, but it wasn't what I would call spectacular. And within 6 months, I moved to California and fell in love with someone. And it was the night before I was going to fly back to Ohio, back to my job in Ohio. And I thought to myself, you know, if I want to move to California, I should look for a job and a place to live. Those are very practical things, right? I need a job and a place to live. And this voice came to me during my meditation that said, go to this clinic and check it out, and go to this house that you and your fiance saw that was advertised on your beach. And I thought, that's crazy. I can't go to this clinic. I don't have an appointment with a doctor. I don't have professional attire. I don't even have my curriculum vitae to show them. I can't go to the house. We haven't called ahead. We don't have an appointment, blah, blah, blah. I went. I didn't listen to my doubting mind. I went to that other voice that was telling me, go, go, go. And I showed up, and the doctor at the clinic asked me what I was doing that afternoon. I said, I'm going to be flying back to Ohio, but I'm looking for a job in a clinic similar to yours. And she said, I was just about to hire somebody today who did not show up. And we talked for 4 hours, and I was hired. I went to the house. It was pouring rain. The man who owned the house drove up at the same time. He said, you know, we've got 17 other people looking at this house, but I really like you. I'm going to give you the house. That was amazing. That happened in 24 hours because I was in a state of love, and I was listening deeply to my inner voice, which I didn't really listen to until those 3 friends died. And I realized, you know, you're the captain of your own ship. And if you don't like the direction you're sailing in, you're going to have to get up to the front of the ship and sail it the right way. So that's just an example of how powerful it can be when you're really on and when your intuition is on. Now, what are some signs of imbalanced energy? Well, losing a sense of your identity, being tired and lethargic, feeling like you're separated from life, feeling isolated, feeling frazzled, having difficulty accomplishing things, feeling like your creativity is stifled. I've actually been working with a woman who has writer's block, and we've opened that up. Feeling stuck in your head, numb or devoid of your emotions, and having constant mundane concerns. You know, we don't have time now for constant mundane concerns. So I gave you an example of how intuition was listening to that inner quiet voice. But what are some other, signs of intuition? Well, they're also a sense of groundedness. You can also sense when other people come into your space. You can sense energy lingering in physical spaces. It can also be really connected to your heart, like crying when you hear certain types of music, feeling what other people are feeling, sensing a mental message from someone, predicting future situations. I actually felt Fukushima when it happened. I wrote a poem about impermanence, and I didn't know. I was out on a jog, and I felt the impermanence of everything, and that's exactly at the same time that Fukushima was happening. So you're noticing synchronicities, and then trust, trust your vision. Okay, there's several different terms for the intuitive healer: clairaudience, which is hearing; clairsentience, which is feeling. There's distant or absent healing, which is what I'm pretty good at, like what I did with my stepsister. Divination, dowsing, empathy, hands-on healing, and kinesiology. And so tonight we're going to do a grounding exercise. There are other exercises to do: porting, neutral separations, as well as enhancing your original essence. And this is a quote about grounding. The foolish man seeks happiness in the distances, and the wise man grows it under his feet. Okay, so let's take a look at the grounding channels. And if you're close to your computer, come back and take a look, because this slide is important. And for those who don't, I'm going to describe it to you. You have channels that go, you have a grounding channel that goes from your sixth chakra all the way down your midline and deep into the earth. And then you have grounding channels that go from your pelvis down into the earth and around your auric field. We're actually going to be grounding the auric field and tucking it down underneath us. So other ways to visualize your grounding. We're going to be actually in the meditation, we'll be exploring what your visualization is for grounding. And for each person, it's totally unique. So I'll be helping you access your intuition to reach that place. And then other things that enhance your grounding in general are walking, running, biking, being around animals or in nature, getting a good massage, having a nutritious diet, and humor and joy. One of the things that blocks our grounding is mental activity, especially mental analysis. And I am massively guilty of that. I'm probably one of the most active minds of anybody. And that actually blocks our ability to be in present time, to be grounded. And it's really interesting when you start entering into a conversation and you ground yourself first, the other person you're in conversation with will feel the difference and will feel that your quality of presence is increased, which then increases connection. Okay, so now we're going to enter into the meditation. And just before the meditation, I want to remind you that we are offering, I'm very excited actually to do this. We're offering a special. So the next 3 classes, the whole classes is $147, but if you get it before this Saturday, which is in the next 48 hours, it's only $97, and I want to let you know what you're going to get for that. Okay, so you're going to get a class on the diet dilemma. Oh, my God. I mean, how confusing are diets? There's the microbiotic diet, the Atkins diet, the paleo diet. So I've been to thousands and thousands of hours of courses, and I'm going to tell you what, the simplest, best diet is and give you a food plan and answer some questions. And we can go into some detail about things like GMOs, genetically modified foods, and gluten. probably many of you are aware of, but you know what? It's really, really good to get a little bit more information on this. And without a healthy diet, we can't really have true health. This is the ground. This is the groundwork. This is the layer, bottom layer. Second class on breast health. This is things that doctors don't tell you about cancer, especially breast cancer, but other cancers too. And, you know, my best friend died of bladder cancer at age 33. I always think of her. I was invited to speak for the cancer symposium in Ohio, and I spent 40 hours researching environmental toxins and preparing for that 1 hour. 40 hours I spent preparing for that 1 hour I had to talk to oncologists about cancer. And no one in that entire conference got up and spoke about what causes cancer. They only talked about chemotherapy and what the latest trials were. And I thought, the secret to cancer is not getting it. You just don't want to get it. But right now in the United States, one out of every 3 people is going to get cancer. You think about 3 friends, 1 of you guys is going to get cancer. That's a really scary statistic. So this class alone is profoundly valuable. And last of all, how many of you have ever had the flu and have had to miss work? Well, guess what? You're going to learn some things in that class, Staying Healthy Through the Holidays, which basically takes care of most flu cases in 24 hours. Yeah, so some healthy tips, things you can just get right out of grandmother's cupboard, so to speak, to keep you healthy. So these are, 3 very, very valuable. And then the bonuses are off the charts. I was like, oh, my God, when I reviewed these bonuses. So there's the Wellness Self-Test, which is, it's a great test they use at the American Board of Holistic Medicine. It tests your mental, spiritual, emotional life, gives you a score. You can do a self-assessment. The New Year, New You meditation is like my favorite meditation, and it's on my website for $28. But if you get this class, you get it for free, and it's radical. It really is. It's a fantastic meditation to help you be the gold champion of your life. Way cheaper than a coach. I've spent thousands of dollars on coaches, but this is your, free. If you sign up for this, they're $28 on my website. And then Anodea has been so gracious to give us a bonus call between myself and her, and these chakra breathing exercises. I'm so excited about those. Breath alone, so powerful. The chakra breathing is awesome, as well as this video that she's done on chakra diagnosis. So looking at that alone, I'm like, oh my God, just for the bonuses alone, it's worth the $97. Plus you get all this other stuff. Okay, that's enough. So please, honor your body, honor your knowledge, honor your health, honor your breath, honor self-assessment. A business coach is probably, life coach is like $200 plus an hour. This is like 5 coaching sessions. Awesome. So that's it. I won't mention anything more. Now let's just go ahead and dive into the meditation. And first thing we're going to do is, if you're sitting in front of the computer or you've been multitasking, I want you to slow down and find a comfortable position where you have your spine straight and your feet flat on the floor. And you can be alert but relaxed. And your spine is supported and comfortable. And the first thing we're going to do is create sacred space. Okay, so because we're doing this long distance, I'm not with you in the room, and we're in a bunch of different spaces, and we're not in the same room together, we are going to create a resonant field. And we're going to do this by putting a golden column in the left-hand front corner of the room that you're in. And if you're in a car, put it in front of the left tire of the car. And if you're in a really big room that doesn't have a lot of walls, create a smaller space around you that's maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. That's going to concentrate your energy. So we're putting that golden column in the left front and let it go deep into the earth, a couple miles down and up above the ceiling wherever you are. And if you don't have a ceiling, go up about 30 feet above your head. And then let's put a golden column on the right-hand side, equal distance, going deep, deep, deep into the earth. Very good. Excellent. I'm getting that about 40% of you are paying attention right now. So remember, intention and focus. This is what's going to get you the most out of this call tonight. So thank you for joining back in. Thank you. That's about 60% good. Putting that golden column up above the ceiling. Now we're going to go to the back right. Golden column deep into the earth and up above the ceiling, 30 feet. Golden column back to the left, going deep into the earth, up above the ceiling. Good. Just trust me. If you're wondering why I'm doing this, just let it go. Just come back to your body and trust. Now we're going to put a wall behind us that's connecting those two columns of pearlescent gold. And a wall to the left of us of pearlescent gold. A wall in front of you of pearlescent gold. And a wall to the right of you of pearlescent gold. Good. And let's fill the space that you're in with this pearlescent gold, clearing out any energy that has been there earlier in the day, just clearing out and bringing in the quality of that pearlescent gold, the quality of unity and harmony. Just notice your breath right now. And if you could throw up a gauge from 0 to 100%, just throw it up in your imagination and go with the first number that comes in the first 3 seconds. What percentage of you is in present time right now? You're not thinking about the future or the past. And ideally, you want it to be above 70%. No judgment here. Don't worry. One time I taught a class and it was like someone said 3%. Just to observe. It's just an observation. Good. Now I want you to focus on your 6th chakra, which is about 3 inches behind your eyes. That's your meditation sanctuary. So see if you could bring your consciousness back behind your eyes about 3 inches, like you're walking back towards your skull, and you're going to hit a quiet spot. It's a spot where you barely even feel like talking or formulating words. And if you can't feel anything at all, do not worry. That's totally okay. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Your present time just went way up. Good. And just from this place, let's just take a few seconds of breathing. Just be with your breath. See if you could extend an anchor from your meditation sanctuary deep into the earth. When I say anchor, just go with whatever comes up for you. It could be a tree and tree roots. It could be like the roots of a lily going into the mud. It could be a ship's anchor. It could be a giant golden cord. And what this should do is quiet your mind. Okay. Now, you guys are doing fantastic. So now you're going to open up your feet chakras. We do have chakras on our feet. And connect with the earth. And you may feel a tingling in your feet. And start bringing in that earth energy. You could also imagine it as dark, rich soil into your toes and your ankles. And if you're advanced, you may start feeling that rocking motion of Schumann's resonance, 7.8 to 8 hertz. I actually am feeling it now. And it comes into your calves, the earth, and it comes into your knees, good. And into your thighs, good. And into your pelvis, that beautiful dark rich earth. And then let's drop an anchor, whatever comes into your mind, deep into the earth from your pelvis. And we're going to do another couple rounds of that, and you can see what that does to you may feel, so one of the signs that you're grounded is your breathing slows down, your thoughts get quiet, you feel more in present time, and your legs tingle or feel heavy. So now we're going to bring in that earth again. For those of you who are advanced, you may feel like a tone, almost like you could hear something, or you may see a color rather than soil. So just whatever. And the ground is different, also in different parts of the world, in different places. It doesn't matter if you're on the third floor of a building, you can connect to the ground through the building. So bringing in the earth energy, even if it's through the building, into the soles of your feet, your ankles, your calves, in between that interosseous fiber between the tibia and fibula, your lower legs, your patella or kneecap, underneath your kneecap, filling that knee joint. Wow, that's powerful. The joints are very powerful. Filling that with earth and going in through your thigh bone, your femur, and the muscles above, the rectus femoris and the hamstrings down below, that beautiful earth energy, bringing it into your pelvis. Very good. And dropping that anchor down deep into the earth. And now you're going to add a hook at the end of the anchor and hook down into the earth and expand your grounding field now so that it's maybe 10 feet in diameter around you. So it's not just this anchor down below, but it's expanded. Very good. Now, at least half of you are getting this, so that's awesome. Very good. Now let's ground your auric field. So bringing that auric field, very good, down underneath your feet. Tuck it underneath your feet. You may be like, I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know how to do this. That's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Just use your intention and your imagination. Imagine that you could do it. Very good. When we ground the auric field, there's an energy that goes up the auric field that activates our axial and transverse lines. It activates our electrical grid. That's what's happening right now, so that's fantastic. Good. Now I want you to go back into your meditation sanctuary. And let's ask a couple questions from this place. Okay? So the first question is, am I in alignment with my soul purpose in this lifetime? And if you get like it's not a solid yes and it's not a solid no, you can throw up that gauge, 0 to 100%, and ask from 0 to 100%, what percentage of me is aligned? How aligned am I with my soul purpose? And see what number comes. And you can jot that down if you'd like. Good. Second question. From 0 to 100%, how empowered are you right now to fulfill your destiny on Earth? See what number comes up. Good. Okay. Last question. What is most important to me right now in my life? What's most important to me right now in my life? What do I need to pay attention to that I'm not? What would make the biggest difference in my life right now? Just see what comes up. I threw out 3 there, but what would make the biggest difference in my life right now? What's my, what do I need to tend to right now in my life that maybe I'm ignoring or not paying attention to? Yeah, good. Excellent, good. And know that, my goal for all of you is to get 100% on those questions, or at least in the 90s. And if the answer that came to you kind of surprised you, like for me when I said what would make the biggest difference in my life, it was breathe. I mean, like that's such a simple answer. I was like, wow, I really need to breathe more. I really need to do more deep breathing. So when it kind of surprises you like that, that's great, because that means it's really coming from your intuition and not your analytical mind. So that concludes the energy medicine class for tonight. And I'm going to be combining a little bit of energy medicine for our chakras with the didactic classes coming up in the diet and in the breast health and in your immune system for the grandmother's closet. And I just want to really thank you for this gift you gave to yourself tonight, this hour that you gave with me and with your body. This is being recorded, so you can listen to it again. And notice how you feel right now. And if you were to throw up that gauge 0 to 100%, how present are you? And notice how it feels. Being in present time is the most important thing we can do in our life, because everything comes from being present. Our health, our consciousness, and our ability to change and transform our life can only come from present time. So I hope you discovered something new, you experienced something new that you hadn't, or you got somewhere deeper tonight. That would thrill me. And I just want to really thank you